We're learning Hilchos Chanukah, Perek Gimel, Halacha Gimel. Rambam begins with Bnei Zeh Eskinu Chachomim. Therefore, because of the ness of Chanukah, the Chachomim Sheboisei Dor, and that generation enacted shiur Shmoynes Hayom Elo. These 8 days, Shetchilosin Melel Chamisha V'Esrim B'Kislev, that begins on the 25th of Kislev, V'Simcha, days of Simcha, V'Halel, and Hallel. This is one of the other mitzvahs D'Rabbanan that we have. We learned about Megillah. We learned about Hallel. We're going to learn about Hallel. Umalikim ben Neres, be'erev. You light candles at night. We'll go down to the Peirush. The Rambam says, Al Pischei Habotim b'chol Lailo, v'Lailo, and the doorways of the houses every night, Mishmeina Alelos, from all these 8 nights, Laharois to the Galis Hanes. Laharois to the Galis Hanes. Yom Eloin Anikroin Chanukah. These are called Chanukah, as we find in Shabbos, Chof Aleph Amud Aleph. Ein Asurin, Big Espid, as we learned earlier, you can't eulogize on them. And Tainas, you can't fast. Kimei Purim, the same rules that apply to Purim. Even though Megillah's Tainas was bottled, but these Chanukah and Purim remain. Hadlo Yizaneos Behen Mitzvah Midivi Seifrim Kriyas HaMegillah. So here the Rambam says specifically that Megillah and Chanukah are mitzvahs d'Rabbanan. Now the 7 mitzvahs d'Rabbanan, which together with the 630 mitzvahs d'Oraisa, add up to 620, which is Kesa, which means a crown, which is, according to Kabbalah, the crown of the Kivyochel of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Meiser Rekeach infers from the language because of this, the Chachamim of that generation, that all of the 8 days have the same reason. Now, as we learned yesterday in Chodesh, that one day was in commemoration of the victory. The other days are for the Ness. Like in Masechet Shabbos, that the first year they didn't know it was going to be a Chag forever. But the Shona Acheres Kovim Yom Tovim B'Halal V'Idor. The following year, they enacted and made it permanent that they should be days of Yom Tovim and Halal V'Idor. Rashi over there explains the days of Chanukah you're not permitted to work because it was only established for Halal and it's to say Al Anisim in the davening and in Berchos HaMoshe. The Maggid Mishnah brings a text. It's Yom Tovim that there was actually Yemei Simcha. Shulchan Aruch in 670 codifies the Halacha that these are Motorim B'Asiyas Melocha. The Asuda that you eat with them is Rishus, because it wasn't established for Mishteh V'Simcha, and that would seem not like the Rambam's understanding. The Lavush explains that Purim they made Mishteh V'Simcha because there was Atzolos Nefoshes, because there was a Gzeira La'ashmid L'Hari La'aved, and Chanukah, the physical being was not in jeopardy. They didn't want to kill them, but rather only to convert them. And therefore, the Xeras were on the spiritual realm. Therefore, we do things that are spiritual, which is halal, and thanks to Hashem that we remain Jewish. We'll go to the next page. in the double column at the end of it, it says the Bach adds the minig is that you do add a bit of a meal. That this was even before the time of the Bach, and the Bach was before the time of Hasidim. And the Mordechai says, look at the Rambam, that's Yemei Simcha. Marshal writes that the Rambam would seem that Yemei Simcha, you have to have a Suda. He brings on the Marash, Ostreich, the Chanukah, you should have a bit of a Simcha, a Suda, and so it would seem from the Rambam. There are more over there says, there are those who are saying that there's a mitzvah to have the Suda, because in those days there was Chanukah's HaMizbeach. That's the and Mogen Avram brings from Megillus Tainus, Medrash Ba'aloischo, Shekovum, they were established for Suda and for happiness because the Mishkan was completed at that time, and not because of the Ness of Chanukah. Vajrakeach seems to infer that according to the Rambam, it's a mitzvah, and Simcha is only usually beboso and with a meal. The Chachamim of that generation, what does the Rambam mean? It would seem not like the Gemara that says that they were made Yom Tovim, and the Mizrahi brings the name of Rashi, that they made him Yom Tovim, to say Halal Noidor. He explains that according to Rashi, Kovum means that there was is referring to the mitzvah of Havloka, or Som, and they made them, is referring to the time frame that you say Halal and Noidor. Smag questions that why in Alanisim we don't say, it says V'kovu Yom Meila, it doesn't say that he made them. Why and it doesn't mention at all the idea of Neros. It could be the Rambam, it seems to infer Vizkinu also includes the Neros. That's why, and also the Simcha B'Halal. And it's one thing that the Chacham enacted that there should be 8 days that start from the 25th, Simcha and Halal, and you light the candles. And he answers, and he continues, Legala is to show the greatness of the miracle, that just as Simcha and Halal are on the Nes, Adlokas Aneres comes to tell us the Nes. Rosameach cites us Midum Sofen. According to Rambam and Migdash, they lit not only at night but also in the morning. Because the Mishnah notes that the Rav and Rashi disagree on the Rambam. They say you only did it at night. Rosameach asks a question: why, according to the Rambam, don't you light Chanukah and Ner Chanukah by day as well? And he answers that it says Laharis Legalis Hanes, and that's only possible by night when the candlelight could be noticed. However, by day there's no light seen when it's sunny out. The Mishnah also points out, and you can't eulogize, you can't do fasting in May Purim, but the days that are before Purim and after Purim, it's Mutim Besped. The Tainus we learned earlier. Even that we learned, even though Megillus Tainus was bottled as far as all the other fast days and non-eulogizing days, but not Chanukah and Purim. That's only within the 8 days, or within the two days of Yudal and Tesvav of Oda. But on the days that precede them and after them, it was bottled, and it seems that that's why you can fast on Tainus Esther. That only Yemei Purim are forbidden, the Tainus and Chanukah as well, not before and afterwards. Shulchan Aruch says La Halacha, on the 20th of Kislev, you begin the 8 days of Chanukah, and you can't do Hesed with Tainus. And he adds, Chanukah and Purim, it's mutter to fast before them and after them. The Mishnah Berurah says you can eulogize as well. He brings to the Bach and the Pri Chodesh that on Chanukah one should not fast before it. Sha'atzi cites the Ran and Balamoyer forbid to fast the day before Chanukah, and the Bach permits it and the day after Chanukah. Pimegodim understood that the Knesset HaGedolah also is the opinion that on Chanukah it's forbidden to fast afterwards. But the Sha'atzin says that there's no such minik. At the beginning of Hilchos Megillah and Chanukah, Rambam writes that in these halachas there are 2 mitzvahs. I say from positive commandments, B'divrei Sefer, rabbinical. One is Kriyas HaMegillah, the second one is Halachas Ner Chanukah. Halachas Ner Chanukah, that's why he says, he writes here, he refers back to it. The Rambam codified the mitzvahs in Sefer HaMitzvahs at the beginning of Shediat Torah, and before each and every halacha, and no one can figure out the rhyme or reason as to why he didn't keep them all in the same order, since he was so orderly in everything else. There is in Halachas Ner Chanukah we find in the beginning of Halacha Ches, but Mikveh Megillah is Takonos Neviim. It's not a mitzvah d'Rabbanan, but they call mitzvahs Aseh Medivei Seifim, and they're not from the 613 mitzvahs. And the difference is between Chanukah and Purim, according to B'Megodim, that even a suffix in Takonos Neviim we go to Chumrah, even though usually in a suffix d'Rabbanan we go the Kula, but like Abei Chanukah Lechri we go the Kula. The Lashon Rambam, like Megillah, except for his intent that in both mitzvahs same they were the Rabbanan, and they're not counted in the Tiger mitzvahs, he also means that it has a few mitzvahs, just like Purim is more than one mitzvah. What are they? In Purim it's not only Kriyas Megillah, and it doesn't allude to Machon Nesher HaGadol and Mishloach Monos. So to Chanukah, the Simcha and Hallel Vaydo, but it's only one mitzvah asay to light the left. The Sefer Likutim brings down from Nukei Ma'arai that the Rambam learned the Gemara V'Kovim Yom Tov, that it means you may Simcha v'Hallel, and he cites the Maharshal, and he questions that the Gemara should have said that they were established as Yom Tov v'Hallel Vaydo, because Yom Tov is a separate item according to the Rambam. The answer is that Hallel is the reason why it's called Yom Tov. Here in the Gemara, it's called Yom Tov B'Hallel. In Yom Tov we say Hallel. Rambam left out the Lashon of the Gemara B'Hoido, which Rashi explains saying Al Nisim. Why doesn't he mention that? Because Hoido is the burning of the Chanukah Lecht. As it says, Hoido on the Nes. And furthermore, Hoido, it means letting it be known. And that way we can understand what Rabbeinu Yoram Mizrachi says, why the Gemara left out the Takonos Ner Chanukah, because he considers it included in the Hoido of thanks on the Nes. According to his words, it would seem the words of Rambam are very exact. He may simcha v'halal u'madlikim neneros, because that's the Seder in the Gemara. First Yom Tov, which is simcha v'halal, even though technically the night starts the lighting. And secondly, Hoido is a lokus haner, to know that there was a Nes, and we thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for that Nes.